SEC, 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 SEC champs, baby. All right. Now, it was a strange game, but we just won 81-68 on the road in overtime against Mississippi State, and we're champions. We were picked to be fifth preseason in this league, but we knew we were better than that. And we just locked down a ring, baby. A freaking SEC championship ring, our fourth all time in Auburn history, like 100 years of Auburn basketball history. And we just did it for the fourth time. 4 of 100. If Wendell shot 4 of 100, I'd be so pissed about it. Like we have been in other games, but we just got the fourth time out of 100 years. Absolutely amazing. The game was, we'll have to get into the game, but just wallow in the fact that we just got a ring for the fourth time in 100 years, the second time under Bruce. Bruce just doubled up what we've done in our entire history. Man, it feels good to be a champion.
I'm so proud of you. Texting you during the game, man, I thought it was going to get really dark early here. But yeah, you've got to take a step off the ledge. And like you said, you're giving it not enough credit. We've been playing since 1904. That's 120 years almost. And a fourth title, second for Bruce. Alabama won it last year. Auburn's going to have a claim of it this year. You get a chance to win it all by yourself on Saturday. But most importantly, just a lot of guts. We'll get into the game, but just a lot of guts by these guys to go down 5 when everything was going just horribly, horribly wrong. And they come back and they make it happen. And they deserve – this team's too good. This team was too good not to win something really special. And now you've secured the first prize of that, and we'll keep going for more.
Like many times this year so far, I have had rants going in my head, things I had like ready to go for when we lose this game. And just I was gonna have to tell you to mark this thing explicit because I was texting Matt. It was definitely some of the most angry I've been. Yeah, because that's so much on the line. We knew we had so much on the line. We knew this game shouldn't have been as close as it ended up being. We were up 12 at half. And so I was just so pissed. Because we just we don't have to get into it quite yet. We can celebrate a little longer, but yeah, I was ready to do some rants. But man, we secured it. I wanted to gush at the beginning and talk about the ring because I think we might go back at some point and want to listen to this episode about when we won a ring. You know, if we something happens in whatever amount of years, like we just freaking won a ring, and I wanted to put that in perspective how huge that is in our history. You can be frustrated at this particular game. But man, from a history standpoint, from a whole season standpoint, we did it. It was a tough year too with how good the SEC is, man. Kentucky and Tennessee and Arkansas are all really good teams on fact with LSU and Alabama and a couple other really good ones too. So the fact that we could secure that a game before the last game, which me and Matt will be at to see them hopefully, thank God, secure an SEC title all to ourselves, because I'm still upset that Tennessee claims it in 2018 when it was ours after we beat them on the road. So I'm glad we had that opportunity on Saturday to really win the entire thing.
This was so huge. This was the first game all year where I legitimately felt like nervous and pressure just as a fan going into the game, because this set up everything else. Like if you lose this, you're like clinging for life to beat South Carolina, who by the way has won 5 of 6. And is really hot right now. We'll talk about them later. You're clinging to share it. Yeah, Kentucky won last night. Tennessee won last night. The pressure was on. It looked great in the first half. And man, it's just huge to get this one behind us. 6-3 in the league on the road, which is the best. It's going to be either tied for or the best road record in the league. So as rough as it's been, this team did a lot of great things. Bruce kept harping they put themselves in a position to win a championship even with these losses late. They did so well in that middle stretch of the season, and they shouldn't apologize for anything. And I'm so glad that this group, who's so special to us already, is going to get a ring. Jabari gets a ring. Walker gets a ring. It's awesome.
And Jabari deserves 2 rings. Holy crap. He is peaked. This man is peaking, and that is part of my anger almost. So we can get an MVP a little bit here, and we'll keep gushing about how we won a championship and how amazing that is. But man, Jabari, this is what we thought, when you daydreamed at night or dreamed during that, what Jabari could be for this team, that even if this team is absolutely failing in every aspect, Jabari Smith is just that good of a player. 27 points, 10 rebounds, 3 of 5 from 3, 9 of 13 from the field, just unbelievable. And that's part of my anger for this game because he's so good. He's absolutely big. He did two, like early in the game, he made a jump shot and got fouled. I said to Matt, like, we've been like, or at least I've been preaching on, we want him to get some hard twos, like really be aggressive. We know he has that in him. And he got that foul call on kind of a jump shot after he backed his guy down. I said, well, if he's getting that foul, then like maybe he doesn't have to bang the boards. Maybe he doesn't have to make that dunk or whatever, because if he's getting the fouls, that's all you wanted anyways. And then like 2 or 3 times this game, he absolutely laid it down on the rim. The plays that all year long, he's kind of like either just not gone after and decided to do a step back jumper, or just kind of like softly finished it, or just didn't shoot it on past it. So he just went yam, and we knew it was there. We saw where he's at and how athletic he is. So it's so good to see that now he's unbelievable from 3. Just, we may never see a guy like this again on Auburn, 6'10", shooting like he's shooting. And the jump shot, we absolutely will never see again. It's just not part of the game these days. It's unbelievable to be so confident and like so pretty when it goes into. And now we've just added that third dimension. Dude can slam it on you. How are you ever going to stop him? He's averaging like 25 plus a game right now. He's like hovering at 30 the last like 4 or 5 games each game. And it just absolutely blows my mind that we don't get him the ball every single freaking play. Well, like you can't do it maybe every play, but when we're going through 4 and 5 minute droughts, and we're not getting him the freaking ball when he's on like this, 9 of 13 from the field, 3 of 5 from 3, yamming the ball on people. It's just, I wanted to tell the rest of the team to freaking walk home and Jabari can get a first class flight back because he's the only one that freaking wanted it until freaking overtime.
Yeah, we got a couple guys, but look, I heard a national NBA podcast talking about Jabari Smith, and they're watching film, and they're like, can someone tell Auburn's like guards and coaches to like, so this is not just a us like homer take. I think people from the outside look at this, and we'll get into the specific game stuff later, but you're absolutely right. Jabari didn't miss a shot in the first half. He was 5 for 5. He hit, I think, 2 or 3 threes in the first half, maybe 2. And he was getting to the line. He by the way, 0 turnovers tonight for him. He's had a penchant to lose the ball and dribble wrong and like go over the baseline throwing the ball in against Tennessee. He kind of just has certain moments. Tonight he was not perfect but close. 10 rebounds, a double-double, 27 points, 2 assists. Just he did it all, and he had the last shot at the end of regulation. It wasn't great, but at least he got the last shot.
Don't get me started on that last shot, man. I'm just so frustrated. Like I'm gonna hold back on it for a minute. Yeah. I honestly am, because I have some real faults at. So
you said it. Jabari, he is now, I think he was 42% from 3 going into this game as a freshman, getting the attention he's getting from defenses, and he was 60% tonight, 3 for 5. Like he is a spectacular shooter, and there's really not like the guy said, even that crazy shot at the end, you kind of think it's going in because Jabari's shooting it, which is the best compliment you can pay somebody.
If we could even have gotten him a even halfway good shot, like that was such a like the odds on that shot going in were so low from anybody but him, because it was just another line. I'm not gonna get started on that yet. So what I want to do is, so I think Jabari is just like far and away the MVP from the regular part of the game, from the regulation part. Before I put my overtime socks on, I have overtime socks. And it was like last year we went on an insane overtime run where we won like 5 or 6 games in a row, I think, in overtime. And every time, for some reason, I think the first one, I just like happened to have these new Auburn socks my mom gave me. And I was like, let me put these on for good luck for whatever reason. And then we went like 6-0 or whatever. So I wear them every time. I literally had them packed in my bag. Me and Matt are going to the game on Saturday. I'm flying out tomorrow. And I put them in the bag saying, I better wear them to the game on Saturday just in case I need them in the game on Saturday. I had to dig them out of the bag and put them on. And now they're something like, I don't know, 10-2 right now at the overtime socks. So it was a long rant. I'm wearing the overtime socks.
Yeah. Great to see us win one, on the road. We had lost. You can see it on YouTube. You got the socks on the screen. That's what people,
for the overtime socks.
Yeah. That's why people listened and watch us right there. It was great to see us win in overtime. We had come up short on the road, quite a few of these games where we've had those opportunities, and just good. And we got to just talk about KD, right? Maybe he's not the MVP, but
Well,
he had 2 points in regulation. He had 4 turnovers, maybe 3 in regulation. But man, the only guy, we scored 21 points the entire second half, and that was lucky. We started scoring there down towards the end, so it was just horrendous. Everybody was out of sorts. Wendell looked terrible. Zepp, that's just not his. He's not a ball dominant guard. Jabari missed one at the end. He looked frustrated. Kessler wasn't himself. We'll talk about all these guys, but KD just said, "Hey, I'm just gonna go," and he got the ball. He had an acrobatic layup, hit a FU3. He got a steal. By the way, end of regulation, he's the guy scrapping with their 7-footer to force a jump ball that gets Jabari the possession to tie the game late. Like, KD continues to make these. He's not scared of the moment. He's fearless. And we see the bad part of that sometimes. But man, how many games this year now as we look back? Are you glad you had KD on your team in the last minute of the game?
To tell you how ridiculous this overtime versus the second half was, and how it just ridiculous the night and day of this is. We scored 21 in the second half. We scored 20 in OT. We were 1 point away, one made free throw away to tying up what we did in the second half in OT. So it's like, not only was OT was amazing. We just blew them out in OT. It was awesome. What was it? 20-7 in OT. And I think some of those at the end, maybe even some trash, but I feel like they only scored 2 in my head, in OT compared to our 20. And then that shows also how bad our second half was. They the most opposites you could do. And it all came down to KD. And we were talking about MVP for Jabari and how certain that lock is in regulation. We don't like to do the double MVPs, but I'm tempted to do a regulation MVP and an overtime MVP, right? Because that's what I don't want to do that usually, but sometimes these players force me to want to do that because I want to give KD something for what he did in overtime.
Here's the question: how confident are you that Auburn wins a share of a ring tonight without KD Johnson in overtime?
None. No, everybody was running scared out there. It was crazy. Sir, Jabari's not running, but he can't do it all by himself. He just doesn't have the dribble ability, and that's some criticism people have had in the draft or whatever, that he's not going to be able to make his own plays a lot of times with the ball. He's not going to bring the ball up and do it all by himself like John Morant does or Trae Young does or Steph Curry does or any of these guys like that. He's just too big. Even Giannis does that sometimes by himself, and he can develop that or whatever, but that's going deep into that part. But we need a guy on this team that can bring the ball all the way up and make a shot for himself like that when things are just going wrong. And KD's that guy. And it's weird that he disappeared so hard during pretty much the entire game and then just went ham in overtime. But that's kind of KD a little bit. He thrives in those moments,
And we gotta give him credit too. He was awesome on defense tonight. All night, fundamentally sound. Maybe not as much of a crazy hamburglar, but he has come so far on that end, and he was fine the whole game scoring 2 points. Think about how he was earlier in the year. He was not taking any panic possessions or taking the ball from somebody, or he was fine. And now here's the interesting thing. Coaches get second guessed all the time. We're going to get into some Bruce stuff later, I'm sure. I am convinced watching that game, he was not in at the under 4 timeout. He was on the bench. Cambridge was in. They put KD in and they played no 3. You and I always talk about, I promise you there's no 3 and 2 difference, because that's what they did. They just played KD, Zepp, and Wendell. And so KD almost wasn't in the game for overtime in the end of regulation. And he got in, he made it count. He's so, don't take that for granted. You see how Flanagan's struggling. You see how certain guys lose their confidence. KD never loses his confidence, and there is something to be said for that. He's a Bruce Pearl player that way.
And some of these guys, a lot of guys in college, if they're hot to start the game, then they can really finish out a game being really hot. And you got to get the guys. It's crazy that KD can be so quiet and then just go off. And I was sitting there watching the game with my girlfriend. I was telling her, she's like, "Oh man, KD's going off." I was like, "Yeah, but he's a spurts guy, kind of he doesn't go off for an entire game a lot, or he hasn't in a while, honestly. But man, when he goes off for his little moments in time, when he essentially he goes Super Saiyan, he goes mentally insane. He was our little psychopath or whatever for a little bit, and he's kind of gotten quiet recently. But when he goes into that mode, it's really interesting, and that's what he did to start the game. To start the overtime, and he just went Super Saiyan. Everybody else was running scared, and he said, "Give me that ball," and he finished the drives. He absolutely about killed me on that fast break where I think it was Kessler had a monster block, and and then someone else got the ball. I think it was Wendell, and he threw it down the court, and I saw Jabari in the side of the screen, I think, and it went way past Jabari. I was like, oh no, we just threw the ball away. No, KD was just like standing under the basket, could have easily just jumped right up and scored. He like waited for the dude to get there, pump fake, went into him, got the foul and scored. He just keeps doing that. I was gonna jump out of building if he missed that layup after it was so wide open.
But isn't that the narrative, right? It's like, yeah, it drives us crazy, but you know what? He, in the biggest moment when we're trying to win an SEC championship and everything's going wrong, I'm still going to do it. I'm going to make it, and I'm going to make the free throw. He was 5 for 5 at the line tonight too. Like, just, you can't say enough about him. And it's going to be cool to look back at this, because this will always be the game where you clinched part of it. Hopefully Saturday is going to be really special if we can win and keep it all to ourselves, cut down nets on our court, all that good stuff. Like, he's one of the legends. Like, he really should be remembered that way. And I think that's really cool for the arc of his season, how it's going.
We've been, probably since like a fourth of the way into SEC play, we knew we had something special with this team. Like, I guess like right after the LSU game, honestly, we knew we had something special with this team. And we've been thinking this whole time, like, we have to talk about it for an hour or two. I mean, we get to talk about it for an hour or two, and we kind of like make these narratives in our head, or like these like kind of personalities for the guys on the team and who's going to be remembered for what and all this kind of stuff. I've been thinking about that for so long now that honestly, some of the stuff I thought was so solidified that this is the kind of guy this guy is, and this is what we'll be talking about in 20 years when someone asks us about the team or whatever. But it's still changing,
You just never know.
This whole like we thought that at a conference, oh man, this KD guy, I can't believe how insane he is. And then he like kind of this down, and then okay, well, he's our little psycho, he does the Hamburglar and he goes psycho sometimes. And then he's got completely quiet the last couple of games. And the Missouri game where he just goes and wins you a game. Like, so now it'll be interesting. We still have time, honestly, now. And in March is the biggest, like, you can do crap all year. In March, all of a sudden you've completely changed your narrative or whatever. So it'll be interesting to see at the end what right now KD's thing is still psychopath Hamburglar, but it's also like the dude that thrives at the end of the game, the dude that needs the ball in his hand at the end of the game. If it's not him, if it's not Jabari, it needs to be KD. And that can kind of get me started a little bit on, I want Wendell just out of the game. I don't even want Wendell in the game at the end of games. Give the ball to KD. Give the ball to anyone else. Wendell's a liability to the game. Like, I guess we can finish out our MVP thing if you want, and then I can get into that.
I want to do that. I know it's our podcast. Nobody cares. MVP is Jabari, overtime MVP / SEC championship MVP, KD Johnson. We obviously have no prayer in this game. KD had 14. By the way, is it shocking to you as it was to me? He is the second leading scorer on this team still.
Wow, really?
Well, 12.5 points a game. Wendell's 12.2 going into this game. So he extended that out a little bit. I couldn't believe they showed that on the screen. I was like, wow, really?
I guess he's had some big games like early where he scored like 25 plus, and Wendell he's also had some down games. So. Well,
he sneaks up on you too. I mean, I know he had 12 in overtime helps, but I mean, you look at the roster, all of a sudden he's the second leading scorer tonight. Zepp was third at 11. So anyway, I love those guys deserve to and how about this? I don't remember when it was, but the epic Kessler block, was that in regulation or overtime where I
think that was overtime where they threw it out, because man, we can get Kessler too. There's something wrong with Kessler. So
well, but he had that moment too. That's going to be one of those momentum swing moments. So I got to give it's cool that this group gets to celebrate. I know it's been a rough few weeks for them. They're going to have their fun on the way back to Auburn tonight, and then gear up for a big win Saturday. So
I was absolutely ready for. So we're done with MVP now. I think it's interesting. I was out for 3 games, and it was interesting to see other people jump in and do this stuff. But me and Matt have gotten this really great chemistry going of like kind of how we talk about these games and like all that. But like some of these, you just have to talk about the game a little more than you do other ones, I feel like. And this is one of them. I mean, I had the narrative ready to go. Like, I thought for sure we were going to have to get on after a loss, and I was going to have to be the one that, like, the sky is falling. And I was literally ready. There's so many times I'm like thinking what I'm going to say at the beginning of the podcast. It was podcast listeners, the sky is falling. I'm the sky is falling guy, and Matt is going to talk you off the ledge. But like, man, it has been so frustrating. It was 3 straight away losses, and then this one we were up 12 at halftime, And it really felt like we'd exercised some
Up 19 earlier in the first half.
Wow, I didn't even know we got up by that far. And I mean, I was posting on Twitter stuff that we love Wilson, like the volleyball from Castaway, because it's the Wilson balls that Mississippi State. Like, we're finally shooting well. Like, oh man, like finally we're getting that swagger back. I mean, Matt even texted me that we're getting the swagger back. You know, like felt like great. We're finally and Jabari was slamming the ball. It felt like we were peaking. We were like finally like turned it around a little bit, and we had time to do it. And then just like fell apart absolutely in the second half. 21 points in the second half, just brutal. Everything we were afraid of in the second half happened. Couldn't get the ball to Jabari. That's the biggest thing. Like, this team used to be anybody any night or whatever, and it still can be, but these guards have just really struggled and cannot seem to score very well. Zepp luckily is kind of picking up a little bit, but he's still he I guess this late in the season he's not going to be the guys like give me the ball, because he's just maybe that's not his personality at all right now anyways. But then also after this late in the season, it's tough to do that with so many guys on this team that have already proven it. Like, I wish he was shooting more. He's been so efficient from three. He was 3 of 4 tonight, but the guards were just so quiet. The bench was quiet. Jabari was going off. Something was wrong with Walker Kessler, and I will get more into that. He had like a sleeve on his shoulder, but there was something off about him. And so it was just, and the threes were trash tonight. Like, I know Cambridge ended up with 6 points. He made a big three or whatever, but he was trash. Alan Flanagan, we just had his dad on.
All right. We're talking about players later.
I know, but it's kind of part of it. It's part of it. And Jabari was the only one that was going off tonight, and we just could not. Like, if you can't get going, get the ball to Jabari, because he's going off, and we just could not get it to him.
Well, look, that's not totally fair. In the first half, we were over 50% shooting. Jabari only took 5 shots, so everybody else was scoring. And I really think it's huge that Jabari's averaging 25 over the last 5 games. He's really figuring it out, like you said earlier. But this team is going to go as far as the depth goes. That's been the thing all year. That's been our calling card. And when that's not there, there's a combination of factors. Let's go ahead and so I just wanted to point out, Wendell looked great in the first half. Zepp looked great in the first half. Everybody, the bench had 15 points in the first half. So what? I'm going to make 2 angry points about Bruce Pearl. We know on this podcast we love Bruce Pearl. You're going to have another one that I'm going to disagree with, but we can just vent a little bit. Okay?
Everybody disagrees with me, but I'm going to say it anyways.
Why in the world? Our defense was fantastic in the first half, man to man. Like, we were locked in. Whoever had the scout did a great job. We knew what they were running. We forced 20 turnovers tonight. Like, I thought we did a great job for most of the game defensively. Bruce challenged the guards to stay in front. They did. Why do we go zone at the end of the first half? Why? Like, and it felt like it opened this avalanche of rebounding problems towards the end of the first half that extended into the second half. So that, I really hated that. But worse. Jabari didn't miss a shot. I think he maybe missed one. No, he did not miss a single shot in the first half, I don't believe. Yeah, and he was in the game for the first 6 minutes of the second half when everything's on fire, and our players / coaches can't force feed him a look. All we do is run ISO to him on the elbow or on the wing or in the post. Do it. We got him post touches in the first half. Do whatever you got to do. To me, it's malpractice almost when you have that guy and you can't do it. So those are my 2 things. You're going to talk about heat check timeouts, but to me, the zone was
2 for me also.
Was an unnecessary risk, and then the fact that you have to get Jabari more looks when he's cooking like that. You can't, and especially when things are going so bad around him. You know what I mean?
Well, this will go into my point a little bit too. Like, it's so funny. I just talk about Bruce, best coach of all time, Auburn program. He does so many amazing things.
He is the best coach ever.
The same thing with these players. Like, they're doing amazing stuff. So, like, I feel like maybe after that Wes Flanagan interview, Wes Flanagan's listening to the podcast. We love the Flanagans. If you go back all the way back, I absolutely love Alan Flanagan. I've been his biggest champ for so long. So if I have to say some stuff later on about how the game didn't go so well, just forgive me. But another thing with Bruce, man, the 2 things with me for him, like you talked about, we couldn't get Jabari the ball. Well, he's admitted that several times that if he was a better coach, he would find more looks for Jabari Smith. The other one that just annoys the crap out of me is these end of game scenarios. We've been talking in the podcast that a lot of these things during the regular season at a conference, they're learning moments for later in the season. You it's like you almost want to manufacture them at times. Like like early on in the season, we didn't have very many close games at the end. We were like,
Yep.
oh, we need some close games so we know what we are at that point. We can learn from them, and like you almost like you don't want to take a loss, but you want those moments. Well, now we've had a bunch of end of game moments now, and especially away in the SEC, and we failed at them so badly. We have yet to have, like, I guess KD and KD made one and Wendell made one, but Wendell's was pretty dubious. I'm glad we came out, and sometimes you need the things to go your way. And the KD, thank God KD did that in the Missouri game.
KD's had more than one. We're not going to have time to go into it. KD's had 4 or 5 that have been really impressive. But
like the point of a lot of these games is you're supposed to learn. You learn and you adjust. And we haven't figured out how to get Jabari the ball. Like it's been an issue for 20 games now. Like how many games we played, but like we know it's been an issue to get Jabari a good shot, that they're trying to deny him a good shot, that we're doing this ISO stuff. Like they have adjusted at times to get him these like back downs underneath the basket.
Yep.
And they're trying to figure some things out, but it's still an issue. This is what we have to learn. And then also in the game stuff, like I don't want to hear anymore. Whatever. I'm being a little mean, but like if you know how many times we failed at the end of the game, practice a whole practice on that. I don't know. Like, you can't
replicate that
over and over and over again.
So this is the big picture, and you can get into your timeouts because Bruce had 2 timeouts at the end of regulation. I've watched him for over a decade now. It's so rare. He's just not going to call timeout when we get the ball tied up and have a chance to win, because he thinks it gives the defense a chance to set up and game plan for what we're going to do. And maybe he's not super confident in what we're going to do anyway. So you just let your guys make plays. That's what has gotten him to this point in his coaching career. So he believes, I think I texted you, he has this unshakable belief in his guys that they're going to come through and make a play. And that's what allows guys to thrive in this offense. But the downside is it can be really bad at times. And we've seen these spurts that are just terrible. And then at the end, you're really trusting a lot of 18 to 21-year-olds to make the right play when Jabari hasn't been in these spots. Wendell hasn't been in these spots in big time at this level of competition yet.
Well, they kind of have now. And that's what's annoying to me, honestly.
2 or 3 times.
They've been 3 or 4 times. Like you're only going to get that many times. And that's that you're teaching moments or whatever. So like, it's kind of like, I don't know, it's been 4 or 5 now in SEC play. And like, if we're still doing the same thing, we're getting Wendell the ball. He's waiting too long to get the offense started. He gets bottled up and we don't get a good shot. And the most of the time it's been Wendell shooting like NBA threes because he couldn't even get a pass off to somebody. Clearly, we've got to get the offense started earlier. This waiting until like 8 seconds to go with Wendell is obviously not working. And then like, I don't care. I'll give the other team a shot with 5 seconds left. That never works for them either. So I'd rather get going at 15 seconds and take that shot at 10-second mark. Like clearly what we're doing is not working. I'm so glad we finally got Jabari the ball. We just still gave it to him in such an awful spot. And we're here to turn around and shoot that 3 from NBA range. And he's a basketball god. So it almost happened. But if you can just get him a regular 3-point shot, if you can get him a ball down low, like how many times have we had now? Like it was one thing I liked early in the season that college players are absolutely making me lose my mind, that they shoot so many long contested threes when you're down 1 or 2, just drive the ball and get a foul call. But like, it's so we did that at the beginning. We would drive it or whatever. Now we've taken a couple of these contested threes when all we needed was a 2 or a 1. It's just.
Well, look, it's easy as a former coach. I say that tongue in cheek because I coach middle school. The worst thing you can do in that scenario is give yourself a chance to lose. And I know you can say that's conservative and that's, who cares if I lose that way? I'd rather, it's easy to say that until you wet the bed and give up a conference championship because of it, because you shot with 9 seconds left because your players don't know how much time's on the clock, So I think it's easy to second guess that. I'm fine with running late action. I think you should run action at 5, 6, 7, 8 seconds in that situation. But here's my problem. Go look at the first half tape tonight. We ran 4 or 5 unique ways to get Jabari the ball inside the 3-point line. Like we ran a great pick and pop. We ran a traditional post up. We ran some cool screen action, flex action, bringing him around off the corner. So like, call something. Like even if it's an ISO on the elbow, just stand him there. Make Mississippi State double him if they want to double him and open up somebody else. Like that's fine if that's the play. But you're right. There needs to be some more structure there. I'm going to push back a little bit that you should start early, or that even that you should call a timeout, because timeouts, it can set you up. But what if you like screw up the inbounds, which we've seen with this team a lot, then I know you can't play what ifs and play to lose like that, but I would be nervous to call a timeout.
Well, talking about timeouts, I can get me in my little rant too, that like we've asked every coach we've had on, every player we've had on about heat check timeouts. And maybe there's just some sort of like kind of bravado, machoism about taking heat. I wouldn't take it. We can figure it out kind of thing. But yet all the best coaches, all like the majority of college basketball coaches, if the other team goes on a run, there's a timeout. It just feels like Bruce always waits longer than everybody else for some sort of like, we're going to outrun these guys or whatever. And so like, I don't know if that's why the assistant coaches say the same thing. Sonny agreed. Anthony Mackler agreed. He also played under Bruce for 4 years. So it's like some of these guys, that's all they ever really played. Steven's same. He's only ever played under Bruce and coached under Bruce. So maybe that's just the philosophy, but it's so frustrating to watch us have a 12-point lead and just let them away, dwindle it down when clearly our offense is sputtering. We're going through these 4 or 5 minute stretches where we can't score. And we don't take this time out. But it's hilarious to me recently, now that we do this a podcast and we've made it such an issue, that we don't take these heat check timeouts when we're losing our 12-point lead. But guess when we do take our heat check timeouts? As soon as we've lost our 12-point lead and we go down another point or two. So it's just funny to me that like it's no heat check timeouts while we like give a 15-0 run, but it's only necessary once we've already started losing.
Here's my question. What is so magical about the heat check timeout that isn't present in the regular timeouts that get called throughout the game? Because I think you got to keep in mind, like tonight, all that run, which by the way, just to throw it out there, Mississippi State went on a 36-12 run going from the end of the first half to so we had halftime, we had the under 16 timeout, we had the under 12 timeout. Like you only have 3 timeouts in the second half.
I'm not saying it's absolute magic or anything like that, but there's something about stopping the momentum of the other team. You know how we like to get it. We like to get the ball around. We like to frazzle them, the crowd get into it. So we can't like have our cake and eat it too and say in Auburn Arena, we love to turn them over and get loud. And when they get loud, then the alley-oop comes. It always seems to happen. But when they take those timeouts, it kind of like cut up our momentum a little bit. Things get a little choppier. Things like that little momentum. These guys calm down. As much as
we need some data. We need some data on this. We need some data analysts out there. We need somebody to crunch the numbers on how effective the heat check timeout actually is.
It feels like, at least against us, I mean, a lot of it's just me watching Auburn games, and like I'm sure I watch a decent amount of neutral ones too, but like it always seems to feel like it didn't work out for us tonight, that after that timeout and a heat check, they draw something up, get the best player of the ball, and they usually hit something and it kind of chops the thing up. And if there's like legit problems, the other team's just better than you, it's not a magical elixir to being a bad team or whatever. But when you're the better team on the road and the crowd's getting into it, it chops it up a little bit. And the funniest thing I hear, and Matt, I think you've even said it, and some of the other coaches, it almost like admits defeat to the other team and the crowd goes even crazier. I 100% disagree. Every time Auburn Arena gets just pumped and somebody takes a heat check timeout on the other side, the crowd is definitely not louder after the timeout. They take a timeout, they try to get the DJs going, they try to get everything going. But these commercials, these TV commercials are like 5-6 minutes long. Everybody calms down a decent amount, and then like, sure, they try to do the Duke thing and what now is Auburn Arena and they yell and all that. But man, the like insanity, really what it comes down to is the alumni all sit down after that time. They clap and they watch the highlights and they sit back down after the timeout and things just kind of calm down.
Yeah, I don't think it has anything to do with machoism or anything. I think it has to do with like that feeling you're describing when it happens when we do it to somebody else. You don't want to give the other team that, like that. That's what it is. And Bruce has said that. I mean, he's on record, like he's not changing. For anybody who thinks that he's all of a sudden going to start doing that more, or he's going to start drawing up these magical end of game plays, I'm just telling you, don't expect it. And just I live in such a great state of mind because I focus on all the positives of everything he does that's so much better than other coaches. But you're going to have to deal with some really bad end of game shot selection, which I've said for decades with him. Decades, that's exaggerating, but a decade going back to Tennessee. And you're going to have to deal with some ugly stretches offensively because it's not the most complex half court offense. I mean, it's just not.
You kind of trade off a little bit with him, right? That his like half court offenses and his like end of game draw stuff really aren't very good. And we've known it after so many years of watching him. It's just how it is. It's fine. But he counters that in so many different other ways that are like special, like his defense from like those out of bound passes and like the press stuff he does that other coaches just don't seem to like have that same knowledge on. So like you trade it off a little bit, but it's been years of frustration at the end of games that we can't draw something up.
What's the goal of offense? It's to score points. His teams are in the top 2 or 3 in scoring offense almost every single year. My only point is it's not because of the elaborate, great out of bounds and like out of timeout plays we run. It's just not. It's the style, it's the confidence, it's the swagger. That stuff creates the league's best offenses a lot of times, but it's not always pretty. It's just not.
We want it all, man. We want a coach that 10 out of 10 in every single different thing. It's just not going to happen. In fact, they would never coach at Auburn if they were 10 out of 10 in everything.
Sure.
We got so lucky that we got a guy that's like 9 out of 10 at most things, like absolutely like 4 out of 4. Like he's won 2 SEC championships now. We've won 4 total in 120 years. Like we're going on a whole thing about it, but I'm just thank God for Bruce. Amazing.
He's a 10. He's an 11 in a lot of areas, but that's just one of them. And I think you just have to, that the lack of inside touches is another one. You're just never going to, we're doing more inside stuff than we've ever done, but it took 30 games to get there. It's just, that's how it goes. So enough bashing Bruce. Bruce, thank you for bringing us a second SEC championship. All the coaches, players, we love you. But look, I think we have some real issues here. And the other, maybe we can transition more from the coaching to the game a little bit.
Yeah, I finished this like thought process off. It's just that we got to learn from this stuff. Like it's getting. I saw somewhere else about John Calipari saying like Kentucky fans getting excited that he makes like supposedly a end of the like regular season tweak. He makes a tweak. That's a thing they talk about. He's making the tweak. I don't know if we make that tweak. We talked about Bruce is very. He likes to keep his lines exactly the same, doing the things exactly the same. I'm frustrated, Wendell. I don't even want one, but we also never kill his confidence. He's already like dealing with whatever he's dealing with. So like, it's tough. It's not some easy decision to make. We did see something interesting tonight with both Cambridge and Flanagan being out, which is pretty rare at the same time, which was great because there was a lot of issues with them getting the player stuff. But we need to learn from these situations. If we don't learn from these situations, other teams are learning from their situations, and we're going to fall behind. They've learned what we do. They have the tape on us. Wes Flanagan, the coach, came on. Steve Pearl did too. We've asked both these guys. There's a lot of podcasts and message boards. Everyone's asking, what happened to our guards? They were killing everybody. What happened to that lob game? We were killing everybody. Well, the coaches are trying to figure that out too. We've asked both of them, Steven and Wes, those kind of questions. And half of this is that they're not going to tell us what they're thinking. They're not going to give people ammunition on the other side or whatever. But I think they're figuring stuff out too. And we have one game left in the regular season to do it. Luckily, we can still get a ring, and we just secured that ring, and hopefully we can get a solo ring or whatever you want to call it, a SEC championship by ourselves. But there needs to be a tweak. Something's got to be tweaked. We got to learn from something.
Sure, I agree. But we won't know, like you said, the narratives are all formed in March. We may very well look back and be like, we found the adjustments, right? Like we figured it out, but we just won't know till the end. That's what makes March so great. But you're right, we're not playing our best ball. We haven't been for a month now. And that's just the reality of it. We're still a really good team. It takes a lot to beat us in every situation, even as bad as it's been at times. And you just kind of have to hope that the shooting continues to improve, which it did today. And we kind of unlock, and we've got it. To me, what have we talked about all year, Jackson? Rebounding and turnovers, right? Well, we're turning the ball over too much, even when we win tonight, 20-14. And then the glass, you can't ignore being out-rebounded by 23 on Saturday and 18 tonight on the road. That's just, we are not going to win doing that. Now, here's the thing. I was telling people at work who were asking about the trip to Knoxville and everything. I was like, but our team's a good rebounding team. We win rebounding almost every game. Like I keep track of this stuff. So it's weird. It's not who they are. I don't think it's an identity issue. But man, you better not lose rebounding by 20 in the tournament, because you'll get sent home real quick.
This is a good transition to that. This podcast is going to go so late. It was already a 9:00 game for me and these guys, and then it went to overtime. And but then there's so much to talk about this game.
Welcome back.
Yeah,
late night. Let's
Yeah,
go.
I'm glad there's only a couple more games left. I'm going to embrace every single one because they're amazing. And we've talked about that all year long.
This is the latest one. This should be the latest one the
for
rest of
sure.
the way.
And but there's been so much to talk about. We don't usually talk that long into just like gameplay stuff, and then we don't always go into the stat sheet necessarily for like team stats. We have to because the team stats were ridiculous. The rebounding was absolutely trash again. They doubled up us at one point where they had like 40 and we had 20, I think. They ended up with 50 and we had 32. Something's changed. The teams know that it's an issue. You know, I think I heard Sonny and some other people talk about maybe some of our guards and stuff are like running out on fast breaks, and that's why they're not in there. I don't know if they figured out that our big, I don't know, it's crazy with Jabari and Walker. Like they should be dominating people on the rebound. I don't know what the issue is. It's 2 away games in a row that we just got dominated. And it was the reason why Mississippi State was in this the entire time.
Absolutely. Auburn did a lot of good things tonight in a lot of areas, but you saw it against Tennessee when you give a team that many possessions, and in both games it was offensive rebounding. Here's the thing. I thought the announcer made a good point. When you have small guards, that can be a problem. You're kind of taking a risk there when you're giving up size at every position, especially when we played that small lineup. But look at the rebounding stats for our guys. 10 for Jabari, 10 for Kessler. Zepp had 3, and everybody else 1, 2. And Jalen probably needs more than that. Flanagan needs to get more than 1 rebound in 19 minutes. But I wonder if teams are just sending a ton of guys to the offensive glass and they see that as a potential weakness for us. And that's obviously something we're going to have to get.
It doesn't feel like we miss them necessarily on like layups and stuff. It's these threes and different like longer shots, right? And that's where the guards would be rebounding, right? Like it's going to get past Walker Kessler a little bit. It's just not going to be in his range or whatever. But I don't know. It's crazy. Cambridge had this great switch couple games back, maybe 10 games back or so, where he decided he was going to be Dennis Rodman type, plays great defense and gets great rebounding. Sonny and the radio, Andy Burcham were calling him out this game that he wasn't blocking out and he wasn't getting rebounds, and he ended up with one rebound this game. That's what you're supposed to be doing now, Cambridge. You're 1 of 6 from 3. You're under 20% from I've been looking for those stats the whole time. You know, you've heard me rant on this podcast so many times about Cambridge's 3-point shooting. It's just not what his reputation is. He's got a reputation. Anyways, he's 1 of 6 tonight, and he's below 20% from the SEC from 3. I don't know why he's still shooting 6 threes a game, and now he's not rebounding. The threes tonight were just, it was.
and you still wanted him on the floor in the last 4 minutes.
Only because it's so weird. You know, I used to be so not mean, but I was like, we're a fan podcast, we say what we want. Now we've got these great interviews, different people that might actually be listening. And I'm like, maybe I shouldn't be so mean to Allen. You know, both these guys just did not have a good game at all. Both of them only end up with 1 rebound. If you can't hit threes and you're catching charges and you're turning the ball over, at least get rebounds and play good defense, you know?
Which they did. I do want to say, I thought Cambridge and Flanagan played really good defense. I think Cambridge really did. I thought Flanagan was terrific. I thought him and KD defensively, that was our best defensive lineup tonight. So you do have to give them credit for that. Not everything shows up in the stat sheet, but tell your boy Jabari, he kicked it to Cambridge for 3 4 times tonight.
Oh, you got my text messages about it. I was so frustrated because it was already hard to get Jabari the ball at times. And then he had a couple looks, maybe not great looks, but for Jabari, most anything, especially in a game where everybody else is struggling so badly. And he tossed it over to Cambridge in these long throws a couple times. Luckily, Cambridge finally hit one, but when it was a crucial part of the game and Jabari got the ball, I don't know how to describe exactly where it was, far from where the elbow was, where Cambridge threw it all the way over to him. I thought for sure, finally, Jabari's got the ball. He's going to shoot it right here. It's perfect. He's actually pretty open. Throws it over to Cambridge, no, why would you ever throw that? And then Cambridge goes to shoot it, no, you just hold on to the freaking ball at this point. You're 0 of 6 at this point. Do not shoot that ball. And he shoots it and hits it. And it's just one of those moments that we've had so many times as Auburn fans where, no. Okay, yes.
Well, and that was a huge shot. There was a sequence there where
we were down 2, right, at that point, and then went up 1.
2 possessions in a row, right? We're down 5. We're down 5 late. Jabari hits a run-stopping 3 that's just in somebody's face. No offense. We just throw it to him on the wing and he shoots, which, again, that's not a bad thing.
Just get him the ball. Just get him.
The next time down, we get a stop. Next time down, Jabari gets it, kicks it to Cambridge, I believe, and
he
knocks
had
it
done that
down.
once or twice before that too. Where
Huge
he
shot.
kicked it over to him, and I couldn't believe he kicked the ball out after like, because it's one thing when we get him like some weird possessions like too far, not even like we get him the ball like above NBA range 3, and we know he's not going to like be able to dribble drive from there. But when he can get the ball at least on the 3-point line when everyone's struggling that bad, he's got to figure something out there, and he does most of the time. It just for some reason tonight he was being unselfish after scoring 20 plus already tonight.
He's just not that guy. I mean, we've seen it. I mean, he's not. That's why a lot of people love him. I think that's why his teammates love him. He's not a selfish guy. But don't you feel like the great thing about the struggles the last few weeks is like there is zero question who the guy is to take these shots and to be our guy. And a few weeks ago, that
KD.
It's KD in his mind. But it's Jabari. And if I think that is one positive development of all the struggles is I don't think anybody in that locker room, anybody in our fan base, we all knew who the guy was, but now it's like ultra clear, like, yep, that's our guy.
It's so strange and frustrating that we knew Jabari had this in him, that he could peak like this, that he was just that much better than everybody else. He's showing out now. He is doing what we thought he could do in the daydreams. But then the rest of the team has just gone to not everybody. I'm being a little like, but people it's just gone way down. And it's just so crazy that Jabari could be scoring 25 plus a night, hovering around 30. And we're struggling this bad in offense. You would think it would like be taking us supernova the way everybody else is playing. You would think it'd be opening up the game for everybody else. They don't even have to try as hard. And it's going the opposite. And it's not like Jabari's a guy that's completely like a volume guy. He's not a James Harden, Russell Westbrook that just has the ball in his hands constantly. Like, in fact, we want him more. And he's ISO a lot of times. Like, the rest of the offense is still going. Like, I don't know. It should be helping, right?
You would think, but I do think the downside to having an alpha like this is it does very much fly in the face of everything Bruce has done in his career. He's never had a guy like this. Obviously, it's a great problem to have, but he's always been the 9-10 guys. And like, and when this team was popping, it was like everybody in double figures or a threat to go double figures any night. And that's why, like, we know what we're getting from Jabari, and like we love it. We need to appreciate every time he steps on the floor in an Auburn uniform. Our future this year rests with everybody else, and to me, the guards. Our future rests with the guards, and that should make you a little nervous the way the last few weeks have gone. But to me, it's as clear as day. And I think the clearest definition of that is Wendell. Right? When Wendell's good, we are a tough team. We saw it earlier in the year. We see it at home. Pretty consistently from him. But I think Wendell kind of represents the others, right? Like we've got to have a few guys, and that's a huge development. We're going to talk about him. We need a couple more guys, whether it's a Flanagan, Cambridge, Jalen Williams, KD, maybe KD's that guy. We need a couple guys to come alongside Superman and be a consistent offensive threat that we can go to.
Well, we can talk about Zep real quick because the next stat I wanted to talk about was that we were 10 of 26 from 3, 38% on the road, which is big for us right now because we've had some issues from 3. Wilson ball versus Nike ball. You've all heard the conspiracies at this point. The other big side of this, I told Matt halftime, other people, they were 0 of 6 or over 7 or 8 or something from 3-point range. I said, well, that's not going to keep happening. Pretty much every time that happens, we like build these leads. We need to build like 15 to 20 point leads when they're shooting that badly, because a lot of times what happens in the second half, all of a sudden they come out and they start making those threes. If you didn't build enough big enough lead when they were having their shooting, sometimes it goes the opposite. They make a ton of threes and then on the next half they don't make anything or whatever. But I was fully expecting in the second half that they would take a lead, not maybe take a lead like this, but if they were going to come back on like it's because they start hitting threes. No, they went 0 of 13 from 3. There was 0% from 3 this game, and they still did what they did to us in the second half. It's really kind of crazy. They abused us down low at times.
Yeah. Look at points in the paint, 50 to 24. I mean, Mississippi State, and that's what they do. They are the worst 3-point shooting team in the league, and they are one of the best 2-point shooting teams in the league. You kind of thought maybe Kessler would take a bite out of that, and he did in some ways. But yeah, I think, and in Bruce's defense, I think that's why we went zone, because they were not shooting well, and he could tell. But I just feel like it opened up this whole gaping. It's hard to rebound out of a zone. So when you're struggling rebounding, you don't want to go into a zone. It's just not a good idea.
We can talk about the threes. We got abused down low too, which we'll get into the other side of that. But I'll finish up the 3 stuff here real quick. Zep has been efficient all year from 3. Like, he really has a pretty 3. He was a good scorer at College of Charleston. I think he led the scoring for College of Charleston. And we've seen at times this year that when he does shoot the three, when he's like
Wow.
in the flow of the game, he's pretty good. What's his percentage?
Look at this. So Jabari's at 42 going into tonight, and then Zepp's 36, and the next guy's Wendell and KD at 30. So Zepp
Wow.
is clearly he hasn't taken as many, but you're right, way more efficient.
We just got. I think that's the cure. I mean, we gave him MVP, or you guys gave him MVP in the Ole Miss game, which I was so glad. I was texting because I didn't get to watch the whole Ole Miss game, but it was just cool to have another guy finally like break through after we've had a kind of consistent 3 or 4 guys do it. So it's really cool to give MVP to Zepp for once. But he could keep doing that. I mean, 3 or 4 tonight. I think he's shot enough now this year that we know that's real. He can do that. So I hope he embraces that a little more. We talked about earlier in the podcast that maybe it's just tough to break in personality-wise in this, and I don't want him to be another Wendell that's been frustrating amount of volume, like shots when you're supposed to be the point guard that's supposed to get the offense going. But he's done a great job of when the ball comes back to him, taking a good shot. That's the kind of thing I want from Wendell now too. At this point, when we've like earlier in the season when Wendell was going off as a ball or whatever, like it was a little different. But now I want Wendell get the thing started. But if it comes back to you and you have a good shot, take it. Zepp already does that. Now I need him to maybe do it a little more. Maybe like there's a couple times now where the shot clock gets down low and he's still looking to defer. At that point, make your shot, go get it,
Well, and Zepp, to be shooting 36% from 3 before tonight, go up a little bit. He takes a lot of late shot clock shots because he's not looking, it's when he needs to. And some of those tonight, man, those are just hard shots and he just made them. And that's what this team has needed. We need a couple guys who could just make and take, who's willing to take and can make hard shots. Because at this time of year, you've got to be able to do that. And we know Jabari can. We've seen KD do it at times, but like we really need a couple guys. And if Zepp can keep being if he's a double-digit scorer consistently, like look out. I mean, I really think that could help unlock a lot of things as we get away from these away games. This is the last true away game. Praise the Lord. Neutral site. Hopefully it's a different story for us. We'll find out.
I hope we exercise some sort of demons in that last overtime or something, because we thought we had exercised it a little bit early in the game. But all right, so that was some stats. Unless you have one that you really want to point out, then we'll get to pregame notes.
Only thing would be I thought we had 12 assists on 15 made buckets in the first half, which is great for a Bruce Pearl team. We were sharing the ball. You talked about the passing, and then the second half it all stopped. And we stopped ISO and Jabari. We were getting great looks with Jabari in the post passing out, and like it was opening up all this stuff. So hopefully we can take the good. There was a lot of good early in this game and then late in overtime. We got to be able to take that and convert it. But overall, I think we've hit on all the stats. I'm good.
Cool. All right, we'll go through yours real quick. Matt's pregame notes. We'll try to do it quickly. I know this podcast is going to go long now at this point. But all right, your first one is, can Auburn shoot more efficient offensively on the road? I'm hoping for 45% overall, 33% from 3, and 75% from the line. So if we want to go through this real quick, 45% overall. Yep, 45.9%. 33% from 3, 38%. 75% from the line, 71%. So 2 out of 3, pretty good.
Yeah, no, I felt good about our shooting. That's what's crazy about this game. I thought our offense was fine. I know it was really bad in the second half, and there was that really horrific stretch, which is kind of what happened in Knoxville too. But overall, we did a much better job offensively on the road, except for that like 10 or 15-minute stretch. It just keeps happening. We've got to be able to, whether it's heat check timeouts, whether it's getting Jabari the ball, we can't go 10 minutes without scoring or 8 minutes without scoring or whatever. We just can't do it.
Got to be the heat check timeouts, guys. I know that's never going to happen, but I can dream. Your next one is, can Auburn have 4 scores in double figures and 20-plus bench points?
We got the bench. We got 23 to 10 won that category. That's always big. And then just short, we had 3 in double figures. But really what I'm looking for with 4 is just guys to step up, right? So we know Jabari's going to score. We know who's going to step up. Zepp did a great job. Wendell still ended up with 8 on 12 shots, which is not great. But, Cardwell did a lot of good things. My point there was just we need more contributors, and we took some baby steps there in a lot of parts of this game.
Man, the first half was fun.
It was.
We had great bench points in the first half. We were texting about stats that looked really good, man. Next one is, can Auburn limit their fouls and keep Mississippi State off the free throw line?
I thought we did a really good job of that. First half
was was tough though, man. We at one point it was 9-3 foul differential with us with 9, them with 3. Like down the stretch, and a lot of it's because they were going in on us to like they were the ones going in driving the ball, so they were going to get some foul calls. But also there was some tic tac ones in there, and
I didn't think it was bad. I thought we defended really well without fouling, which is always Bruce's thing. We want to be aggressive, we want to steal the ball, we want to block shots, but we got to be able to rebound, which we didn't do. But do it without fouling. Mississippi State's one of the top teams in the league in getting to the line and making free throws. They were 63%. They didn't shoot well. And we evened it out, which, as you know, on the road, if you can take the same amount of free throws as the other team, it's a good sign.
Yeah, it's one of Sonny's things too. He yells on the radio all the time, defense without fouling, defense without fouling. Yep. That's the thing he says all the time, which I love it when he says his little, like, it's clearly like from his coaching days where he's like just trying to remind his players the same kind of like very basic stuff, but, and then he says insane stuff like he did tonight where he said, if he had called that foul, I've been hunting for my pistol. And I was like, oh no. And I saw someone on Twitter be like, tag Sherry and say, your dad's not packing tonight, is he? Like, he doesn't have a gun with him. I hope not. Oh man. Hopefully we see Sonny on Saturday. I'm going to see if we can get a picture of that'd be a great moment.
Yep.
Mine were, did we make any adjustments to get the guards out of the slump? I mean, the first half looked great, man. Zep was hitting those threes. These slumps are just really something. They're getting ridiculous. In the Tennessee game, I can't believe, I mean, you were there, but they were showing it on TV. They had like a 5-minute, and then maybe we scored a 2 in there, and then we had another 5-minute. These second half slumps are getting really crazy. I think hopefully we can fix it in the offense. Hopefully we can fix it with the players. We used to have these run stoppers with Jabari, and we still have some run stoppers, but it doesn't feel like as consistent as it was before. Usually the other team would have like 4 or 5 points in a row, and then bam, Jabari hits something and completely cuts it off. And it hasn't felt like we kind of had that recently. It doesn't feel like Jabari's any worse. Clearly, Jabari is being amazing right now. Maybe it's just not getting Jabari the ball when we need to. It takes 5 minutes of scorelessness before we finally get him a good shot.
Somebody said it best. I just want to say, somebody on Twitter, AU Nerd, one of my favorite Twitter follows.
Get him on. Why you should have got him on as a co-host some point.
I don't know who it is. It's great. I don't have any connection. He always tweets stuff I like. Says, I do not understand the funks this team falls into. It just doesn't make sense. I mean, it's true. This team is so good and we see so many things, but it just, part of it's, I think, the Bruce Pearl, just the way the offense is, but man, it feels like it's way overly dramatized this year. It's just so tough sometimes. So,
like we said, we've had all these coaches and players on to talk about this stuff, and no one else has given us a great answer. I've heard about it on several other podcasts, and no one's had a great answer that I feel like, oh, this is why or that's why. So we're still figuring it out. Hopefully we tweak soon. My next one was, can Walker Kessler solidify being a 15 plus point scorer every game? I've been so impressed with his offensive ability recently. He's had so many great moves. He's scoring at the basket. He's dunking on everybody. He's gotten to the point where it doesn't even matter if people got him the ball where he needs the ball to be given to him. He will make it himself. He's gotten freaking fast break scores, hamburglar moments. It's really crazy. But he came in this game with a sleeve on his left arm, which is his blocking arm, which everybody's talked about a lot, that he gets like some really high percentage of his blocks with his left arm. And so he came with a sleeve on. He just looked a little strange. Like, okay, he's wearing a sleeve. Well, okay, maybe, I don't know what it is. But then like you kind of saw his arm was being held a little weird at times, that it looked stiff. And I was hoping, okay, maybe that's because the thing is on his arm. So he's just reminding himself to not swing too much or whatever. But man, there's something off.
Yeah.
He scored 4 points. He still got 10 rebounds, but the blocks, 3 blocks, he just did not look right. They didn't play him as much, I don't think. What was his minutes?
He still had 29 minutes, but it was probably a little lower in regulation.
It didn't feel right. It didn't feel right out there, right? He did not seem confident with his moves.
He's playing through something, probably a shoulder injury, it seems like.
You just, I'm the pessimist with all this kind of stuff. Usually we've just had in different, not just this sport, but other sports, we've had times where, oh, it's just a lingering thing or whatever. And then the season ends and we find out the guy's ACL's tore or the guy's shoulder completely came out of the socket or whatever. And in basketball, it's interesting. These guys just kind of show up one day with an injury and you're like, there was nothing on this. One, because our beat writers are just not as engaged in basketball as they should be. And then 2, there's just this very small gap between games. So there's not a lot of time for a full week of hearing that, oh, for a full week, this guy's out of practice or whatever. No, he might not even miss a practice. I don't know, but he's off. I hope that's not, we'll see on Saturday. If he's still off, it'll be something to talk about. Luckily, I think between the SEC tournament and March Madness, there's a full week, right?
So, well, there's a couple things. So,
Mm.
first of all, it'll be now that we've clinched a share, it'll be really interesting to see if they want to give him. They could give him till next Friday off. I mean, they can give him 9 days if they feel like that's going to help for the SEC tournament. So you've got, but if he plays Saturday, he still gets Saturday to Friday, which is a much longer break than we usually get. And then, obviously, if you go Sunday, if you win the SEC tournament, you're going to play Thursday or Friday, 50-50 shot. So you do get mostly, if you lose early in the SEC tournament, you get a full week. So you do get a little, we are going to be able to catch our breath a little bit. Hopefully look, if it's something serious and it's just going to linger through the rest of the year, that'll stink. But I don't think we know that yet. I think we've got to see how the next we have 2.5 weeks till the NCAA tournament starts. Hopefully,
well, thank God too that clearly whatever it is, he can still play and still make an impact, even if it wasn't the monster that Walker Kessler usually is. The fact that he could still get 10 rebounds, still affect the game.
29 minutes. I mean, he still played. Yeah. It took overtime, but he still played his regular minutes. So that's a good sign that they did not feel uncomfortable putting him out there.
Yeah, he still had a monster block in OT to do the big time play. So my last one is, will the bench give us any help on the road? And they did in the first half really well. And in the second half, I don't have the great stats on like the bench in the second half necessarily. I just know they played great in the first, and still wish you would get more out of Jalen Williams a little bit. I know Jabari takes a lot of his minutes, but
he just didn't get to play.
Yeah, but I feel like he's not been super efficient with the time he has had. And
hit a 3 though tonight.
Did he hit a 3?
Yeah, he did.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, good then. I mean, that changes his game a little bit. That's been part of the thing. He does take 2 or 3 of them a game, which are open, and I feel like he's got a good shot. And he just
if you're looking for a positive, we had 6 different players hit a 3.
Yeah, that's good. 3% went up. Dylan Garble had some deal. We'll go down all these people in a second. But overall it was decent. The bench helped. I mean, that came down to, I think, the game before. There was like really awful bench performance where we just didn't get anything out of them. 5 points out of them. That's crazy. So it felt like we got a little bit back on track.
23 is a good number, man. That's good enough. If the bench can win their matchup against the other bench, which we have almost all year, I mean, that was a big advantage we were kind of just taking for granted. And we've seen a couple games lately where it hasn't been the case. So it's a good bounce back game for the bench. I thought everybody did well. Everybody who played scored. That's always a good thing when you play 9 guys. So that's good.
Cool. All right. Well, that's our pregame notes. We'll go through the players real quick. I think we've talked so extensively that we don't have to go super deep into stuff. But if we go down my list over here, we got Walker Kessler. We just got done talking about that. He didn't attempt a 3 this game. Looked a little stiff. 3 blocks, 4 points, 2 fouls. You worry about away fouls. He only got 2. It just didn't feel like he impacted the game the way he usually does. So we talked about him already. You got any other stuff on Walker?
No, I just hope can heal up. It's obviously a tough time for him dealing with the shoulder thing, and we're having this massive rebounding problem at the same time. And he's kind of our big, anchor inside. So that doesn't help. He missed 2 tough fadeaway. And Tolu Smith, by the way, we have to give a shout out. 22 points, 12 rebounds for them inside. He was terrific. He's a great player. All their players played well. We did a great job on Molinar, though. 14 points, 5 of 19. Yeah. He missed a ton of shots, 5 turnovers. And the most forgotten thing ever, he got a 10-second violation in the last 2 minutes where he was just walking the ball up the court and gave us an extra possession. I don't remember if we scored.
It was a big moment. It was a big moment. I remember it was pretty crazy stuff. Just only in college basketball do you get these wacky moments, right?
Also, terrible technical on him. That was such a joke. That is – the technicals have to stop.
2 games in a row, we've had referees go and review stuff that no one cared about and no one thought was a thing you could even review or was meant to be a thing. And they would review them and give a technical. One was on Jabari last game for smack talking. Ridiculous. Jabari's like 3rd or 4th technical on smack talking, which is kind of crazy for a guy that everyone talked about was so quiet and humble. But he's gotten 3. I don't know what he's saying out there. But anyways, that was ridiculous. This one was, even as a Homer fan on the podcast or whatever, that was so ridiculous. He was like a little push on window at the end, and he shouldn't be doing that, but it was not a reviewable technical kind of play. Another thing I want to say, you mentioned Molinar had 19 shots. I wonder, I'd love to see the volume on some of these other great players for other teams. Jabari had 13 this game. Wendell had 12. So I don't think it's crazy to be like, let's get Jabari some more shots when the other guy had 19 attempts and ended up with 14 points. And our guy is going 9 of 13. Get him the ball more. Like, this is not like a ridiculous thing where we're just like, oh, you want the offense to revolve around Jabari. We can't just have it revolve around you. No, but it didn't feel like Molinar was completely like playing hero ball the entire time. We can get Jabari like 2 or 3 or more of these a game if he's going to shoot like this.
Well, and think about it. I mean, I know we had overtime. He hit a couple shots there, but, he went, again, I just want to point out, he went from the beginning of the second half till 14 minutes left in the game, didn't get a shot off after not missing a shot in the first half. Like that, it just can't happen. It just can't happen.
So now it's time to talk a little bit about the 3 position and Alan Flanagan and Devin Cambridge. I think we can talk about them at the same time. I mean, we've already known this year that there was, Alan Flanagan was out for so long. We said, okay, well, we're dealing with Cambridge being in, basically. We know Cambridge is like not really, like, I'm sure at a smaller team he would be fine being good or whatever, but we knew he was not an SEC starter material at this point. We were really, at least I was, he was my boy, Alan Flanagan. Oh, he's coming back. I can't wait till Alan Flanagan comes back. Man, it's just been frustrating.
How wrong were you on that narrative of preseason?
So wrong. Absolutely wrong.
How big a deal that would be when he came back, which, I mean, we all thought that.
I mean, so was all the SEC writers and everybody else. He was picked for first team all SEC. We talked to his dad literally yesterday. We talked about Coach Flanagan about what he's talking about with Alan right now. And just, he's telling Alan to just keep doing winning things if he's not scoring, if the ball's not in his hands, but just keep making winning plays. And that's another frustrating part. And he has done it. There's been games during this stretch of him being frustrated where he plays good without the ball. And he plays good without scoring, and this is just not one of them. He makes at least 2 or 3 plays a game every time that calls us possessions. If he's not taking a charge or an air ball or just straight turning the ball over or just, it's just when Cambridge has a bad game, it seems quiet. It's it's missed open shots.
Yeah.
It's, he's not trying to, he just goes silent. When Flanagan's having a bad game, it's loud. It's straight up turn. I think he had a bad travel maybe 2 bad travels, actually. One was a good play with the other guy that pulled the chair out from him or whatever. But some of that is people just know what Flanagan's trying to do. It seems like he's like, got to be one of the best scouted guys. Like, people know to take charges on him. People know he's going to lower his shoulder, pull the chair out. You're going to get travel on. Like,
and he goes left. I mean, he's a lefty. He's going to go left. There was a rough stretch there where there were 3 straight possessions where it was turnover, and then like really tough shot that didn't go in. It was a tough 3. So I want to point out his defense was terrific. He really is buying in on that end. Our defense quietly, you're holding teams on their home floor to 60 points when you can't even get a defensive rebound. Like, we held Tennessee to 33% shooting, and they're one of the highest teams in the country. Our defense is fine. Like, our defense is really good. We just have to get this offense figured out. And Flanagan to have 4 turnovers in 19 minutes, it's just brutal. I mean, it really is. And I hate it for him because I hate that he's not on the floor at the end of the game tonight, because I think he has earned that. And you've seen Bruce's loyalty there. Like, Bruce has not budged until tonight on who he was going to finish with. And he went with KD and Zepp instead of
thank God.
Playing the 3. So good call by Bruce there. I know it's tough. It was good to see him able to celebrate with everybody on the bench after the game was over. It's like, I don't know, man. We've seen so much data now. It's hard to imagine him breaking out, in March. It just doesn't seem like that's in the cards this year. I
was glad that we made that adjustment during the game. I mean, there was me and our friends and stuff talking like, man, you got to take Allen out right now. Like, it's just going so badly. He's costing us so many possessions. You got to put Cambridge back in, as much as we've also heard my podcast, like me ranting about Cambridge on their side, but at least he does it quietly. He doesn't turn the ball over. He doesn't make he doesn't take charges. He doesn't do this stuff or whatever. So then the fact that he would and because basically too, you would tell me this, and other people too, like, what, so you want Cambridge in? And then I'd go, not really. And guess what? There's an option there, like, that we have not really taken in. We don't have to have either of them in. I still want to see it's just too late in the season to do it at this point, but I still would love to see a Kessler, Jalen, Jabari, KD, Wendell, or Zepp or whatever. I would love to see Jabari at the 3 position, just for a little bit.
They have chosen not to do that for whatever reason, whether it's to maximize his. He's obviously great at that stretch 4. I thought the same thing preceded. They clearly have no plans to do that except for in an emergency maybe. And it's a totally different set of every play we run. Those are about as the 2/3 and 4 are as different as it gets in terms of your responsibilities, what you're supposed to do. So he could do it.
Part of it might be the dribbling that, that's 3 guys that can't dribble the ball. It's 3 guys that you can't do fast breaks with. And maybe they've practiced it or something and realized that when you have we have 3 of those guys and they cannot cause a fast break at all. And we're just not great in half court. I don't know.
But think about how hard that was for Bruce to make that move and take a 6'6" guy off the floor and play Zepp, Wendell, and KD on a night when you can't get a rebound. Like, that took some guts, man. And Bruce, we gave him. I
guess they made him do it. They forced Bruce's hand on that. I don't think he wanted to. Yeah.
But I'm just saying that is not an easy thing to do. And you've seen how he coaches. He is the last guy to make a sizable shift. Like, he doesn't want guys to get down on themselves. He doesn't want to change rotations if he can't. He doesn't want to change starting lineup unless he has to. I thought it was significant tonight that's what he felt like he had to go win a championship at the end. He had to play all 3 guards, and it ended up working out.
Yeah. We'll try to keep this a little faster. KD, we already talked about, I feel like, unless you really have something else you want to talk about KD.
Just proud, man. Thanks for getting us a ring, KD. We love you. We're a KD fan podcast again. Let's go.
Yes. Zeb Jasper, we talked about him a decent amount. Hope he keeps shooting. 11 points.
3 assists, 1 turnover. Yeah. And look at the minutes. Look at the minutes for Zeb. Most he's played all year, 35 minutes.
Love it. 35. Wow. Yeah. I guess this was overtime. So.
Yeah.
Jalen, we talked a little bit about Jalen already. 3 points, 3 fouls, 1 turnover, 1 rebound. Maybe, I don't know, how many minutes do you end up playing?
9, least on the team by far. He's just not playing because Jabari's playing. I mean, it's how it is. And he's getting the worst whistle on the team right now. He gets some foul calls on him. I'm like, why? Like, that is not a foul. Like, why? And he had 3 fouls against Tennessee in 9 minutes the other day too. It's crazy.
Maybe he's being more aggressive, I guess, too. When he knows he's going to play limited minutes, he can take some of those fouls. Maybe.
Great to see him hit a 3, though. I was happy to see that.
Dylan Cardwell, man, he keeps impressing on some of his finishes. He had an amazing double clutch finish, like he's like a guard almost on one. Like, you want a guy like that to just kind of go in hard. It was kind of strange that he chose to not just fight through the contact or whatever. He did this cool little double clutch and got the ball still in there. He's done a really good job recently of finishing balls through contact, with a soft touch at the end and getting foul calls too. And tonight, I think he did he make his free throw? No, he missed it.
No, he missed it. But made all his shots. Some good dunk, great passing to him. Yeah. It was great to see, like you said, when he scores, it's just found money. It's yes, Dylan Cardwell, 6 points. I need more than 1 rebound from him in 16 minutes because he did play more with Kessler a little banged up. But yeah, he brings it, man. It's you can complain about Cardwell at your own will, but just think about if he's not there. I mean, just think about if we didn't have him. That's a problem.
Yeah, he just keeps impressing me with the touch he has. That a lot of this stuff with younger guys is seeing. Same with I did with Chuma Kiki and Isaac Coro and Jabari. Now you kind of see. I mean, he's not on this level or whatever, but you kind of look for that guy, the touch, and see if he can really fit. Horace Spencer could not finish the way that Cardwell is finishing right now. And then that's kind of a guy I thought he would be just kind of a guy who takes fouls, some good athletic guy or whatever. But he's finishing with a good touch. And by next year, maybe he'll have I don't think he's ever going to turn some great scorer necessarily, but he might be a guy that can finish the balls for you. It doesn't have to be just dunks off of some sort of handoff situation, And I pulled up, it looks like he's still in the top 5 in blocks in the SEC, baby. 1.3 a game. So good for you, man. Good for you.
Who else you got?
We'll skip Cambridge and we'll get to Wendell.
Yeah.
Man, 3 of 12 from the field. He's still taking too many. He just takes 2 or 3 too many. You're the point guard. Pass the ball around.
Well,
I'm over him taking early threes. I'm over him just not passing the ball at all. I don't know. Man, it all comes down to Wendell at this point. And he's had some great games and he's had some great big moments and he's exceeded expectations at times, but it's coming down to Wendell. Something's got to change.
I'm more concerned about he's almost gun shy passing now. And I think he's turning it over more. He's kind of in his own head a little bit. there were multiple times I saw tonight where I thought he had a good angle to get it to Kessler or to get it inside, and he did get in the lane tonight. Jay Phillips and I talked about, like, it feels like so much of our success was when Wendell was able to work in the middle of the court, right, and down the paint and finish or lob or kick for a three. And he got to the middle of the court tonight, but Mississippi State kept poking it away. He had 4 turnovers. He did have 7 assists, by far the most on the team. That's kind of his role. So it's not like he played terrible. I thought he played a really good first half. But you're right. Like, that guy was fearless, and he kept us in and won us so many games late. And he was our finisher. I mean, that's what Bruce was calling him. So tonight was bad. And I think that's the reason Zep played. I think Bruce wanted Zep on the floor to kind of help balance a little bit towards the end. And it did seem to help in overtime. Obviously, KD did what he did.
He got his pocket picked absolutely terribly at one point. He already had some bad turns, but man, there was one that was like already when he was having a bad game that they just absolutely picked his pocket, and you just cannot have that happen as the point guard.
And he's just not finishing. He's not finishing at the rim like he was earlier in the year, and
not even on fast breaks. It was a fast break. He just that I was like losing my mind. He had an opportunity to pass the ball, and he still tried to finish as a little guy, or whatever. And I was like, this guy is an absolute liability at the end of the game. He just does not seem to know at the end of the games that he's not like.
Well, but look, listen to what you're saying. He was the guy during a 19-game win streak, stirring the drink every possession down the stretch. So we can't. I think it's easy for us as fans to forget that. Like, he's been the guy at the end of every game with the ball in his hands, and he has made a lot of good things happen. You say he's overachieved sometimes. He's overachieved our expectations all year, and we have chosen him as the horse we're going to ride as our closing point guard. Unless something just insane happens, he's going to be our guy, and Bruce isn't going to take him off the floor. I'm just telling you. He's going to ride or die with him, but that doesn't mean we can't use him smarter and use him better towards the end.
What game did he get injured? Was that the Missouri game that he rolled his ankle, or was the game before? And then the Missouri game was the first game he came back and didn't look quite right.
Maybe, I forget.
Yeah, we need to look back on that. Like, maybe we're talking like this. We find out at the end of the season that he's been dealing with something the entire time, and ever since that game is why our offense looks the way it does, because he's been a half step. I remember in the Missouri game, I think it was, that we were like, yeah, there's something a little off or whatever. Maybe that's when it all started. Maybe Missouri figured something out about us. I also noticed that once or twice that, man, they really get up on Wendell early in the possession. And there was at least one where he went to go pass and they doubled him up. They kind of did like a double, like his guy went up on him and whoever, like maybe Jabari's guy or somebody that kind of got up, and they know he's so small that he can't get the ball out, and he like dribbles out of it, completely like ruins the possession for the first like 15 seconds of possession. That might be a thing that's like a strategy right now, is like press him as hard as you can to start the possession, and he's not breaking out of those like he used to. He's not going by people like he used to, and maybe that's the speed thing. Maybe he's less confident. I don't know. Maybe I figured out you're so short. If we get 2 taller guys to press up on you early, the offense completely stalls.
It just sure feels like people are taking away his 3-ball, and they're taking away his finishes at the rim and the lob. So I think to me, he's got to be able to.
How are they taking all of those away though? Wasn't that like the thing? Like, you want to come up on me and stop me from NBA 3? I'm going to blow by you. And he's not doing it. Like,
yeah, but okay. So what are they leaving open? Mid-range, wide open jumper for him. And he's not taking that floater. He's not taking the wide open 12-foot shot. It's not really what our offense is built to get. Maybe that's part of it. But I think that's got to be a part of his, when he breaks through that defender guarding him up tight at the 3-point line and Kessler's rolling to the basket, take the little teardrop floater, like take that 10-footer, stop and pop. Like, that's a good shot with our offense struggling like it is. Like, it's okay. You can shoot it.
Surely if the guys are taking the NBA 3 or whatever away and he can blow by, then that opens up that whole layup to lob thing with Kessler.
No, not necessarily. Not necessarily, because
who's coming off if he's past the guy, and so then the center's coming off to protect, right? To protect the rim. So why wouldn't Kessler be open for that lob anymore?
It's the 2 help side defenders. So you're going to see
So is it because our 3 game's so bad he's not popping the ball out to the 3 guy? Or is it because his passing's not going well right now? Or
what's a harder pass? A lob to a 7'1" guy, or a pass cross court to the opposite corner when you're 5'10"? It's the pass. So You've
So is
got
that what it
the-
is? They're just saying like if we're gonna leave something open, it's 3 guy, and the 3 guys are not hitting, and that's completely like what it kind of comes down to. You feel like?
I think the first thing they're leaving is a mid-range jumper for Wendell. That's number one. Number two is the wing guys. One guy's going to help on Wendell if he's on the right side. This guy's going to try to bother Wendell here and, slap the ball. You saw that a lot tonight. And then he can rush back. And then the other guy on the weak side is going to sneak over to Kessler. And if you've got a second big guy on the wing, like a 6'8" guy, you can take that ball if you're playing close enough. You're right, that's open in the corner, but a 5'10" guard has to whip that pass over there. That's a hard pass. And like you
maybe
said,
they're just absolutely not scared of Alan Flanagan and Devin Cambridge's 3-point shooting ability, Jalen Williams' 3-point shooting ability. So like, maybe you're right. Maybe that's the deal. It's what's coming down to is we just our bench guys or players. We don't have that sharpshooter on this team. We don't have the Ray Allen, to shoot that or whatever,
But good thing is he played 26 minutes in regulation. I'm glad he did not need to be playing 35, 38 minutes because we've seen so many times he struggles down the stretch. I think at his size with playing that much of the game with the ball in his hands that much, I at least like the minute distribution better.
Well, overall with Wendell, and now that we finish up the players or whatever, got to make a tweak. Something's got to be tweaked. I thought maybe at the beginning of this game we had found something different, and we got to, we have one more regular season game. At this point, we're just trying to win the ring. We've already won a ring, but we're trying to win the solo ring now. So it's kind of tough to be like make an adjustment that's worth a loss or anything. But I don't know. We got a couple practices in between this and the SEC tournament.
Well, and you catch your breath. And again, you don't have to play on the road anymore. You're going to have now neutral site. We've seen some of the same struggles, but it's Wilson balls all the way. And it's, it's not going into these places. And I'll say it again. I know we had the best road record in the league. As much as our struggles were there, we had the best road record in the league. And we're finish the regular season undefeated at home, keep the title to yourself, get the swagger, and get a week off, right? Saturday at noon, that game this weekend, you're not going to play till Friday, I believe at noon during Friday. So, we just need to get there. And you're right, though. The coaches are going to have to make their money with some adjustments.
Let's briefly look at the SEC. I believe Arkansas and Tennessee play Saturday. So at least one of those will be eliminated from the ability that theoretically, if we lost to South Carolina, the teams that have a ability to tie us up are Tennessee, Arkansas, and Kentucky.
Yep.
And Tennessee and Arkansas play each other. So one of those will be eliminated from that situation. Kentucky can still tie us up. They beat Ole Miss. But then I wanted to make sure tonight I saw that LSU is playing Arkansas tight.
LSU had that game won, and they lost by 1 point. So Arkansas won.
Yeah, that's pretty good for at Arkansas. We've seen how we play at home. There's not been I don't think we've had a close game at home, honestly, this year, right?
Not super close.
Not
Kentucky.
Super close, yeah. So that is theoretically, if Tennessee or technically if we lose the game, we could have a three-way tie.
Three-way tie. Yep.
Wow, which is not the first time. And in fact, if we look back at SEC regular season champs, which I gave Matt some homework on how many losses. You didn't do it, did you?
I haven't done it.
I tried, guys. We don't get paid to do this or anything. I spent like 5 or 10 minutes trying to find SEC regular season records for the champ because I'm curious that we have a 14-3 conference record. If we lose one more and we end up doing a 3-way tie with one team, Kentucky and Auburn, with 4 losses, I'm just really curious how many SEC champs have had a regular season with 4 losses and got not like if we were just unlucky that there's been a top heavy SEC or what. So I'm curious. I know Kentucky, I think, had 3 losses in their 2020.
Well, and our 99 team had 2. Some teams have gone undefeated. It's rare. I would say 3-ish is kind of the average. So we're right on schedule. Kentucky goes to Florida Saturday, by the way. Florida could really use that win, kind of like ours. They needed ours. Now they could really.
Florida's gonna be hot as mess if they beat 2 top 5 teams and 2 top 5, 10 teams or whatever in the last 2 weeks or whatever.
Shout out to Texas A&M for going into Tuscaloosa tonight and just curb stomping Alabama. I'd love to see that.
Love it every time. It's been great too that Alabama's picked to win the SEC. I don't know where they're at in the standings now, 5 or 6, but it was great that Texas A&M beating them at home was just kind of like cool. we didn't even have to worry about it. You know, the way they were picked in this league, that should have been like, oh my God, Alabama goes down late in the race, but they screwed up enough and lost enough games that them getting beat by Texas A&M is just like, okay, it's Alabama, whatever. They lose a couple games, you know.
This is crazy. So, I mean, if you're watching on YouTube, there's this gap. Everybody's focused on the top 4. Look at this.
They lost 8 games in conference.
Yes.
Alabama's 9-8. They could theoretically
they go to LSU. Record. They go to LSU Saturday. They could be 9-9.
LSU's not been great, but that would be great after they got. I told you guys they were overranked. They had a year in the COVID year with a bunch of seniors when all the teams that didn't have seniors didn't do so well. I'm telling you, Nate Oates and all that. Yeah.
So here's what's crazy. I mean, if you're a nerd, right? You've got Alabama, Florida, South Carolina tied for 5th at 5th through 7th. Then you've got LSU, A&M, Mississippi State tied for 8th, 8 through 10. Auburn's going to play, if they win Saturday, they would play the 8 team, and it could be any of those 6 teams that Auburn could play in the quarterfinals. And that matters for like I don't want to play Alabama again. We swept them. I'm good. So I want them on the opposite side of the bracket. So I don't want them to finish 5th because we could play them if they were to beat like Tennessee in the quarterfinals. So
you said Alabama would be 5th.
Yeah. Right now, I think.
You never wanted to play the rivals again. You know, it's just there's an extra incentive, you know.
Right. But don't you think so here's my, if you could draw it up, Jackson Garrett, who would you want to play potentially in the semifinals? For me, I would rather play Arkansas and then have Kentucky and Tennessee on the same side of the bracket so they can just duke it out to the death. I think I'd rather play Arkansas. So I'm going to be rooting. I'm probably rooting for Tennessee. As long as Auburn wins, I'm probably rooting for Tennessee to beat Arkansas at home on Saturday.
Agreed. You know, like we did our list of which teams we want to win or whatever, but I don't want to play a team with a big guy. Honestly, I think we figured out a little bit. Like Kessler is an amazing big man. The blocks, he might win Defensive Player of the Year and everything. But we've seen when he has to go against other big men, it's not the prettiest. We don't get that same benefit that we got from before. And Tennessee's got big men. They roughed us up pretty bad in that game. In fact, there should have been more foul calls and things. That Kentucky, Oscar Tshiebwe, you know, Arkansas doesn't have that same big man. If I can remember correctly, we just got to slow down freaking JD Note that is amazing at what. But you know, sometimes these guys they don't always go off. So I'd rather have to corral him than have to like stop the big guys again.
Okay, curse all these people. Whoever made this schedule Saturday, there's some terrific games. They're all between they're all between 11 and 1 o'clock. So Arkansas, Tennessee is at 11.
I thought they played all these games at the same time so that people could avoid like gamemanship of, oh no, I want to lose this, win this based off of this or that, you know?
I don't like it, but I guess that could be true.
Wasn't that a thing in the past though? They would play them all at the same time so that they couldn't like be like, oh, well now if I win, I get this seeding or that seeding, or oh, if we win this game, all of a sudden our rival gets a championship. But if we lose it, then they don't. Yeah, I don't know, something like that, you know.
That's fair. Maybe there's. I just don't like it because we're going to be in Auburn Arena, and I would love to watch a couple of these games. But anyway,
we'll see the end. We'll get to see the end of this Kentucky Florida game.
Well, and you know, hopefully we don't care, right? Because if we win, you know, everybody else can do whatever they want. We're the one seed. We win it outright. So we'll be there. Obviously, really excited about that.
You know, I was looking forward to the fact that Arkansas and Tennessee can eliminate each other. But the bad part about that, now that I think about it, I almost wish they weren't playing each other, because now if we lose against South Carolina, no matter what, someone's going to be sharing with us. If they were playing somebody else, there'd be a theoretical chance that all 3 of them go down and we could still lose and win. So actually, I don't like them playing each other. We were looking forward to them playing each other, but you know, it changed a little bit tonight.
Yeah, I agree. That's a good point. And we'll see how Kentucky handles their trip. It's interesting having Kentucky, Arkansas, and Alabama all on the road.
Do you think, is there any chance they planned out all the good teams playing early? Like, so they can't like do this gamemanship stuff, but then it's all bad teams.
That's what I mean. Your logic is good. If that's what they're trying to do, it worked.
Kind of. I mean, they still gave these other weird like hour gaps, I guess. I don't know. 2 games on CBS and we're not one of them. That's stupid. Well, like, I get those are bigger matchups, but we got the SEC championship on the line.
But look, let's just, first of all, just do 2 things, and I'll
actually one of them is not a bigger matchup. Alabama LSU is definitely not a bigger matchup at this point. That's a joke. We should be the ones on CBS.
It's a better
SEC network. We could be cutting down nets on SEC network, but at least freaking move us to ESPN. Like, come on.
All right, I just want to point out Mississippi State. I couldn't believe this. They were 7-1 at home, so they beat Alabama at home. They beat South Carolina, Georgia. Their only loss was to Tennessee by 9 at home this year until this overtime loss to Auburn. So they beat. I guess they didn't beat any great teams really, but I was shocked that they had that good of a record at home.
I'm just glad we're not playing more away games, man. I'm done with away games.
Yeah.
I never want to see an away game again.
What about let's look at South Carolina real quick, just briefly. Like, this is that sneaky game, Frank Martin's given Bruce trouble. It seems like we've kind of conquered that a little bit the last couple of years. Just look at that. They have snuck around. They are tied for 5th in the league in that crazy tie. We beat them pretty easily early in the SEC season, but then if you go down here, they beat Georgia and Ole Miss on the road. They beat LSU at home. They beat this Mississippi State team by 10. They almost came back from 20-something down to Alabama. That final score got out of control.
Well, this streak's a pretty crappy streak here. Then I mean, it's good. It's hard to win away. So props to that. Georgia, Ole Miss,
LSU, Mississippi State. I'm just saying this is a better South Carolina team than people thought it would be. They were picked towards the bottom of the league.
I envision this game to be a lot like the SEC regular season we won with Bryce Brown, Jared Harper, and all that in 2018.
Yeah.
We're going to go in with a lot of motivation to get that SEC championship, and I think maybe go up early, and they're going to go on a run at some point. They're not a bad team. They don't want to be there. They don't want to be the people that get the nets cut down, even if it's not like, they have a chance, whatever. So it's not going to be completely easy. I think they're going to go on a run where we get a little scared and we go, crap, like it's going to suck to like lose on the day we named the arena Neville Arena, on the day I fly down, spend a ton of money just to go down and watch this game, all this stuff. So like, I think we ultimately pulled off that. I think we have the real motivation, and like at the end when the legs are tired,
let's hope we don't. I think that team went down 13 in the first half, and it was like looking real bad. Bryce Brown kind of brought us back and got us that ring.
It's great. Bryce Brown put the team on his back and started hitting those threes.
29 points, I believe. Yeah,
that was that team, man. That was that team.
Well, it's going to be fun. We're really excited to be there. I guess either way, this is depressing, but I'll just say, like, if we lose, we still cut down nets.
I don't know. Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. I don't know what you do.
We won.
I mean, it's a lot of this is like hedging your bets a little bit. I'm sure it's the administration and stuff. Do you like congratulate? Have a big like video? We won the SEC. As a coach, do you like celebrate in the locker room? We did it, guys. We did it. Also, we still want to do next game well too. Like, you don't want to like not get the celebration in, right? Like,
but it's so much sweeter. I think it works out well because I'm sure they're going to have fun privately more tonight. I haven't looked on social media, but I doubt they went crazy tonight publicly. But they did secure something that's really valuable and awesome. But I think just the fact that you get it with your home crowd, you haven't lost at home all year. You're coming last game. See, it's senior. We don't have any seniors, but it's Jabari's last home game. All these things. You get to keep it all to yourself, and like you have the 1 seed in the SEC tournament, which matters.
I'm sure there's plenty of teams that have won regular season titles and lost on their last game or had their or like won it away. So I guess you like honor the team the next year at the beginning of the year, something like that. If you don't get a chance at home, I guess that's kind of how.
Let's hope we don't find out.
Yeah. Hopefully we get some more confetti at the top of the stadium that can continue to fall for years later. Michael Floyd, the VP of the AU Jungle, came on and probably said that sometimes when it gets loud enough in there, the confetti still falls because it got stuck up in the rafters and stuff from back then. So hopefully we get another chance at that, or maybe it clears out all the confetti. I don't know. Yeah.
Well, hey, if you're going to be in Auburn on Saturday, hit us up. Jackson has offered free drinks or 1 free drink to people who find us or connect with us. We're going to be hitting some people up who we've met this year and who have helped us out.
Free shots of Gosling's rum. I'm drinking the Floor Duffy Gold rum right now in honor of winning the championships. That's what's on offer right now. This came all the way from Bermuda, baby. So you're going to get some Gosling's Black Seal shot if we win.
We're just all glad you're back, Jackson. We're back to our winning ways. We went on the road. It was totally calm, no drama at all, and we're trying to go like this. We're trying hard.
We're going like but when the expectations are high, so we're staying.
Anything else?
No, it's just good to be a champion, baby.
It is, man. Let's close it out with that. Just, man, so good. I'm so glad this team got the part of the big prize. Bruce said it's the hardest one. I think it's the most valuable one.
Yeah.
The 18-game gauntlet, it matters. This league was terrific. I think this league's going to have a bunch of teams do well in March. This is an awesome accomplishment, and I'm glad we were able to talk about it all throughout the year. And it takes a little bit of pressure off. Just we've accomplished something really big. Doesn't mean we're not going to be greedy to win on Saturday, to win the SEC tournament, and to go as far as we can in March Madness. But this is a great place to start. I think more than anything, it's just good that we didn't have to have the conversation of, like you said, implosion of like, oh my gosh, this team could possibly not win the SEC at all regular season with how good this season went. And we were facing that in the face until Jabari tied it up and KD saves us.
I also didn't realize until just a minute ago that by not winning tonight, we would have guaranteed we had to share the title next game. Like that,
correct.
Like there was no scenario where we wouldn't have to share. So that's great that we pulled it off tonight. I thought there was still a scenario out there that we could, win on Saturday and still have the whole thing to ourselves or whatever. But another, not to keep it going forever, but the regular season SEC, like you said, is most important. I think it's most important also because it's such a crapshoot in March in the SEC tournament and NCAA. And I think casual fans think the NCAA tournament, March Madness, that is the biggest stage or whatever. But if you're if you're a college basketball fan, like legit, like this is, you're going to keep following it every guy. I know there's a ton of casual Auburn fans that have tuned in this year because it's such a great team. But I hope as a fan base now we're really embracing it. We're really going to get excited every year for it and everything. You're going to find out that this SEC regular season is the real thing. This is what you put together for. This is when you have a great team. There's enough games in the SEC regular season that you can actually prove out that you're a great team, and that we're going to have years where you have a great team that just doesn't work out in March Madness. And you have to be able to you can't just be holding your breath until March every year. It's not going to be a fun way to watch this sport.
No.
Yeah.
And you don't, like you said, this is the hard one. We've seen how hard it is to win on the road. We've seen how good all these teams are up close and personal, and you play everyone. That's the thing. Like sometimes the tournament gets weird, upsets happen, but you play everybody in this league, you have to go through them. We had some advantages with the schedule that I think we've taken advantage of, but that's not your job. You got to play the games in front of you. And I first of all, how happy were we with the stat that we have the most wins in the last 5 years in the league? Like that, I think matters to us more than anything, because it's building that legacy. Like you always like to talk about, we're building blocks on a foundation. And this year we've done nothing but extend that lead in overall wins in the league. So that's another great thing. Now it's going to be the last, I guess this is the full 5 years. But I mean, we're really going to get in the last 5 years, we've won the SEC twice. We've won the SEC tournament. We've gone to the Final Four. We dealt with COVID. And then we had a weird year where the NCAA decided Sharif Cooper couldn't play, and we just didn't play that well. But what a 5 years. And it's so good to see Bruce continue to validate how good he is as a coach and how strong this program has been built.
You want to embrace the college basketball of it all. Like the one really fun part about college basketball, you get 3 different chances really to have a successful season if you want to have a great team. The SEC regular season, I think, is the ultimate one, and you should be most proud of that. And the casuals in your office or the March Madness people wherever you live, maybe they won't quite get it, but if you're going to be a diehard and you're going to watch every year, that's going to be the one that you really look back on and you care about. And the people that are diehards are going to understand it. The other two are SEC tournament champ and NCAA tournament champ. I think those are very, easy to be like, okay, SEC tournament champ, like that's cool. That's fun. Yeah. We enjoy it, but it's not some March Madness is way cooler than that. Like it's definitely I think wrong wise SEC champion, NCAA stuff. Like, sure, if you win the national championship, sure, you can put it above SEC champ, but just you can't hold your breath every time for that. So it's just cool that you can win 3 different ways and still feel good about your season. And it's more fun that way, in my opinion.
It is. It keeps everybody alive. I think it's great that every team has a chance. If you're, I don't know, A&M's a scrappy team. They just went into Tuscaloosa, killed Alabama. Like they can win 4 games in 4 days or whatever and try to get to the end, to the big dance on their own. I think that conference championship week, actually, if you're trying to look at college basketball as a whole, this next week is about as good as it gets. I mean, if you really watch the games, it's almost better than March Madness in a way, because everybody's playing for their lives. All these small conferences, they have to win the whole thing. So you have upsets happen on home teams' floors in these small conference tournaments. You have the big tournaments that are just these powers duking it out. It's a lot of fun. I'm so glad it's March. I'm glad we won. And I have one piece of housekeeping, by the way. In the last, when was it? We recorded the little with us talking after the Wes Flanagan interview last night. And I think you were talking about being a 2 seed or something. And I just said that, I wasn't sure about that yet. And Joe Lenardi, as of today, before the game, and he came on SEC now.
Kansas lost. So that was a big thing. Top number 4 Kansas or whatever lost.
But he has us on the 1 line right now. So I don't know if that'll be right. So our hopes for a 1 seed are not like at all decimated. Like we need to play better, but just you got to keep the perspective of the big picture of where we're at. We're going to get a good seed no matter what now. We have a ring no matter what now. It can get a lot better. I think the big thing, you and I would agree, we just want to see us play a little better and cleaner and look like we're peaking, or not even peaking, because we did not know that team was going to go to the Final Four, especially when we got the draw on Selection Sunday.
You just can't be imploding right now.
Right. You don't want it to be like, I got on you a little bit in our text, but you compared it to the McLemore season, which, where he got hurt and all.
I compared that when I mentioned that Kessler didn't look right, but
right.
Still, yeah.
But look, that team lost a key piece. They were never the same. They barely won the SEC. They got in, they broke the NCAA tournament streak, but then they barely got out of the first round, and then they got smoked in the second. They just didn't have it. So I'm not there with this team yet, just because they've been in every single game, even as ugly as it's been. They've had a chance to win every single game.
We would be if we had lost this game, though. And that when we were texting, it did not look pretty. No. I think we'd be having a whole different conversation about this team. Yeah.
Well, but again, I do take some solace in the fact that it's just nobody's ran away from this Auburn team. Like, I mean, we've lost a few, we've won some close games, we've been fortunate in some ways, but no one is killing it, even when it's bad, even when we score 20 points in an entire half, even when we can't shoot a 3 to save our life, even when we turn it over 22 times. Like, we've done all these kind of rough things at times, and we just kind of we were winning through it, honestly. Yeah. And I don't know. We got to get Wendell going. That's my
That's where it is. That's where it is. All right. Well, this was a long one, guys, but I'm back. I needed to talk this thing out. We won an SEC ring. I'm super excited. We will be in Auburn Arena on Saturday to cut down the nets. Hopefully, we'll see you then.
Let's go. War Eagle. Hit us up. We'd love to see you guys. War Eagle.